Hello there. I've had a couple students email with questions on just where to look maybe for directions on the drop and bounce. So I want to send a little video to help you kind of see where some resources are that can answer questions for you. Sometimes you're just not quite seeing where to look. So one resource on the science homepage, there are recordings, right? We've got the link for flipped recordings. If you click here, it looks like this. Sometimes, and I know my screen doesn't show all of it, it kind of cuts off the edge here, but sometimes it opens up to semester B. If you'll notice, that changes semester A, so just check that tab at the bottom. But over here you're able to see for drop and bounce, there's a flipped recording, which is a quick overview. And then I put in a link for the live session I did as well. And then it's also over here. So you're able to watch me go through and explain a lot of things for especially teacher graded assignments. The other thing that would be helpful that you might not be aware of is when you go into the lessons in the content. So we're going to scroll down. We want to go in the drop and bounce lab. You do the virtual simulation here. So it talks about it. You have instructions. This is a virtual experiment. So you follow the steps exactly. You're doing a simulation from the pages in the lesson, so there are no lab materials required. You use the data that you collect here from the experience of the virtual simulation to complete and submit your lab report, and you do that in 1.13. So if you open this lab, I'm just skipping over the real quick introduction, but if you open the actual lab experiment, it goes through, and I show you this as well in the recording, but it goes through, in this experiment, you use a simulation to explore how the temperature of a ball affects the height. So you're going to make measurements. All of those things are done virtually. Okay, so go on to the next screen. Here's your materials. This is the page that you need to download. This is the actual lab report that you'll be typing your answers on. Here's the rubric for how it's graded, and here are the lab guidelines. So it kind of gives you, at first on this lab, it gives you information about lab safety, which I also cover in the video. And you're like, this is a virtual lab. We're not doing chemicals and things like that. But if you scroll down, it talks about a graph, a data table. So it tells you exactly what to do. And then as you go through each page, it tells you here you're answering on your lab report. The question that you're seeking, it's right here. So here's the answer to number 1. As you work through, we're going to gather evidence. So it's just a matter of reading through each page carefully. And it tells you exactly what to do. So you've got to go through each one. This is where you get your first set of data. This is where you get all the control, because this is the room temperature ball drop. So it tells you all those steps, like before you're testing, what are you going to do? You drop these. It tells you where to start at the 70 mark. Okay, so this is all in 1.10. And then this is the second part where you actually, the bouncy balls in this simulation are different temperatures. So you're recording that data as well. So that gets you through 1.10. That's just the experiment. When you go over to 1.13, okay, so these two lessons talk to you about putting your data in a data table, putting it in a graph, which are required as well. And then this lesson is basically saying you need to submit it, right? There is not a lot of content in here. There are no guiding questions, so you don't need a scientific or science notebook slide or anything. It just says it's time to write your lab report. So based on everything you gathered, there is a template slide. You don't even really need it because there's no guiding questions. And then you go down to the next part, and there's the drop box for the slide. I'm sorry, yeah, for your lab report. Right here, you'll upload it. Okay, so you'll want to make sure your Word document's complete, that you have a graph, that you have a data table. If your file is too large, you may want to save it as a PDF document, so it's a little bit smaller, and you upload it here. Remember, it's a maximum of 2 gigabytes. So if you hand write your data table and graph, which is totally fine, and you take a picture of it, know that if you upload that PNG file here, it's probably going to be too big. So you're going to have to do some things, maybe paste it onto a Word document and stretch it out so I can see it all, and then save that as a PDF. You might have to do some different things to get into the right file size. But if you need help, let me know. All right, so hopefully that gets you going in the right direction for the drop and bounce. And now you kind of know where to look in the future.